Hey guys, I'm going to do a quick video on 5 more Hall of Famers. First one, Carl Yastrzemski, 7-time Gold Glove, 3-time batting title, 1967 Triple Crown, 18-time All-Star, followed the great Ted Williams in left field for the Boston Red Sox. His father raised him on a potato farm. In 1975 All-Star game, he was called in to pinch hit in the 6th inning, down 3-0 without a batting helmet. He took Tom Seaver yard without a batting helmet to tie the game. No player has a longer career with one team than Carl Yastrzemski. 23 years. Brooks Robinson tied him, or he tied Brooks with 23. 23 years. One team following Ted Williams in left field. So now let's talk about the guy who followed him. Mr. Jim Rice. So we went from Ted Williams to Carl Yastrzemski to Jim Rice. Jim Rice's nickname, Jim Ed. 1978 MVP, 8-time All-Star, 2-time Silver Slugger, lifetime .298 batting average with 382 home runs. In his career, he led the majors in home runs 3 times, RBIs 2 times, slugging twice, total bases 4. Shared the outfield with Dwight Evans and Fred Lynn. That was a pretty solid outfield back in the day. Only player to lead the majors in home runs, RBIs, and triples the same year. Only 12 players in history have retired with both more home runs and a higher batting average. So he's 13th when you look at batting average and home runs. Only 12 players have had more home runs and a higher batting average. He catches a little flack like he's not a Hall of Famer, but you get to looking at the numbers, he's pretty solid. He could hit for power and average. Big time fan of the show The Young and the Restless. He said he was actually watching The Young and the Restless when the Hall of Fame called. I want to read this story about something that happened. He's also remembered for his actions during a nationally televised game against the White Sox in 1982 when he rushed into the stands to help a young boy who was struck in the head with a line drive off the bat of Dave Stapleton. As other players and spectators watched, Rice left the dugout and entered the stands to help the 4-year-old boy Jonathan King, who was bleeding heavily. Rice carried the boy onto the field, through the Red Sox dugout and into the clubhouse, where the young boy was immediately treated by the team's medical staff. Rice's swift response saved King's life, as paramedics would likely have not arrived in time. Rice also paid to have the hospital bill. He also paid his hospital bill, and the young boy made a full recovery. So there's a good positive story. Next, the Maz, the Glove, Bill Mazeroski. 10-time All-Star, 8-time Gold Glove, 2-time World Series, 2016 hits with a lifetime .260 batting average. He hit 138 home runs, which was pretty solid for second base in his career back in the day. But none were as remarkable as his 1960 walk-off World Series 9th inning home run. He was born in Wheeling, West Virginia. That home run ball was caught by a 4-year-old boy, or found, named Andy Yerpe amidst the cherry trees in Chinley Park. Maz signed the ball for him, but the ball would later be lost a few days later in a neighborhood game. So They just took the ball and started playing with it. No telling what it'd be worth today. Pretty historic home runs. He recorded the last out in Forbes Field on June 28, 1970, and the first out in Three Rivers Stadium on July 16, 1970. Bill Mazeroski, defensive savant, the glove. Next, Phil Niekro, Nuxie. He's a knuckleballer. He's the guy has the most win for a knuckleballer, 318 wins. Lifetime 335 batting average, 5-time All-Star, 5-time Gold Gloves, 245 complete games, 3,342 strikeouts. He has a major league record for 121 wins after the age 40. He was a boyhood friend of John Havlicek. Bob Uecker had a funny story about catching the knuckleballer. He said the best way to catch a knuckleballer is just stop or wait till it stops rolling and pick it up. But he said one funny thing happened one time. He said one time Phil Niekro struck somebody out, but he missed the ball. So you can't advance to first base if the catcher doesn't catch the ball. So Phil threw the ball, the batter swung, missed. It hits Bob Uecker in the shin guard, and the runner is running to first base. And the ball bounced all the way from his shin guard to the third baseman, and he threw him out at first for a 2-5-3 assist on a strikeout. So, pretty interesting. Trying to catch these knuckleballers. But I thought it was amazing. 121 wins after he turned 40. Phil Niekro. Last but definitely not least, Gibby. Or Hoot. Bob Gibson. MVP, 2-time Cy Young, 9-time All-Star, 9-time Gold Gloves, 2 World Series, and 2 World Series MVP. 251 wins, 2.91 lifetime ERA, 255 complete games, 3,117 strikeouts, and 3 complete games in the 1967 World Series. What a stud. 1968 was his best year. That's why I've got 2 cards here from 68. Had a season 1.12 ERA, was 22-9. Next year they lowered the mound 5 inches. It was a year of the pitcher, but none of those pitchers had years like Bob Gibson. Next year, his ERA skyrocketed to 2.18 for the season. So he had 2 seasons, 1.12 ERA, followed by 2.18. I think, probably the greatest season for a pitcher ever. Some people will say Pedro had a pretty good 2-3 year stretch, but 1.12, man, pretty hard to beat. When he got out of high school, he had a brief contract with Harlem Globetrotters. He was really good at basketball and baseball. So he was second only to Walter Johnson in strikeouts when he retired from MLB. He received a full scholarship to Creighton University. Indiana University rejected him because their Negro quota had already been filled. Bob Gibson, Bill White, Kurt Flood started a civil rights movement to make all players live in the same hotels and clubhouses. St. Louis was the first sports team to do this 3 years before the desegregation legislation in 1970 or 1964. So he was a pivotal player in making sure that the Negro players got the same and stay in the same clubhouse and hotels as all the other white players. Here's a funny thing that happened. Tim McCarver one time went to the mound for a mound visit to Bob Gibson, which he absolutely hated. He didn't like mound visits. He didn't want Tim McCarver telling him what to do. And Bob Gibson told Tim McCarver the only thing he knows about pitching is it's hard to hit. So he said, you don't need to be telling me nothing. The only thing you know about pitching is it's hard to hit. So that's it, guys. Thanks.